Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So there's a lot of Jets news coming out this morning, a lot of cool little updates here. Let's not waste time, let's dive right into it. So first order of business, the Jets named team captains. We got Justin Fields, AVT, Quincy Williams, Marcelino McCrary-Ball, Garrett Wilson, and Jamie Sherwood. I just wanted to give my 2 cents and just kind of shout out a couple guys here. So the first name up, Garrett Wilson. Obviously just brought back on a humongous deal, top 5 highest paid wide receiver in football. It's really good to see that he's a team captain. You know, in the past, we've seen him kind of have these moments on the sidelines where he's animated, he hates losing, all he wants to do is win. That's all he's talking about in press conferences, just turning this thing around, wanting to be part of the change and not wanting to, you know, essentially ditch the team. You know, he wants to really flip the script with this organization. And it's just really cool to see that the new coaching staff coming in said, hey, you know what? Like, we're seeing how you worked. Here's the big contract. And by the way, you're also going to be a team captain. We also got Justin Fields on this list. Someone who, I mean, we just hear time and time again. We heard Darren Muji talk about it in the press conference today. And we're going to dive into that in a second. But we've heard nothing but great things about Justin Fields' work ethic, right? Just showing up, working hard, really trying to connect with the coaching staff, really working with Tanner Inks trying to get better. It really sounds like he put in a lot of work during this training camp session. And, you know, to be fair, you typically do see a lot of quarterbacks just get the team captain slot anyway. But I don't think Aaron Glenn is the type of guy to, like, Aaron Glenn's old school. You know, I don't see him just saying, well, Fields is the quarterback, here you go, you're going to be a team captain. It really feels like you got to go out and earn that position, earn that role. And the fact that, again, Fields kind of came in and has been working nonstop. I mean, could you imagine if there were reports coming out that Fields like wasn't going to meetings, you know, he's late to meetings and stuff like that? Would just be a complete nightmare situation. So it's really cool to see the opposite unfolding here. Justin is really trying to take advantage of this opportunity. Now, the last player that I did want to give a shout out to is McCrary-Ball. Marcelino was obviously here with the Jets last season, and before that, he was with San Francisco. This is someone who I've really liked for a long time. Right, you just see the effort out on the field. I love the big motor guys, right? The Quincy Williams of the world, because they remind me a lot of the players I grew up watching, specifically at the linebacker position. Just guys that aren't afraid of contact, guys that are really gonna, you know, just stick their nose in there and try to make a hit, try to make a play, try to jar a ball loose. And when it comes to McCrary-Ball, this is just someone who you just feel like, hey, where do you need me? Okay, I'm going to strap on the helmet and go out there and try to make a play, no matter what I'm doing, right? Special teams, defense, what have you. And there was some speculation that because Aaron Glenn and co, they didn't bring McCrary-Ball in, he was a solid pickup, that he might not make the team, but he had a really impressive training camp. Multiple reporters were talking about him having good days really throughout the process. So I'm really excited for him. Really pumped that he was not only just able to make the 53-man roster and is looking like he's going to be a key special teams asset for the team this season, but also being awarded team captain here. So really cool stuff. Let's move on to the other breaking Jets news that happened early this morning: new uniforms. So Nike rolled out these new rivalry edition uniforms that are going to be, I believe, only worn once per year. But the Jets obviously were included, the AFC East and the NFC West were the teams involved. And I got to say, when I'm looking at these Jets ones, I was watching the promo video and I was trying to get a gauge, like, you know, are they gray? Are they black? Dark green? What really are they? And then they came out with some new pictures. I gotta say, I actually like these a lot. I'm not really a fan of the uniforms that have a ton going on, so I didn't really know if I was gonna, you know, be into these. But after these kind of clearer pictures came out, I'm looking at them now. They're pretty clean. I like the font of the numbers. I like the color of the jersey. I prefer the classic uniforms like Green Bay, San Francisco, the Raiders. I love how they never change. I love how the Cleveland Browns kind of went back to their retro look after a couple years where they had like this futuristic style. Those are my favorite uniforms in football. And even the Jets kind of went back to the retro look, but the chrome helmet is kind of like this twist. But anyway, I really like these. There was a couple uniforms that came out, not really feeling. I didn't really like the Cardinals one. Didn't really like the Buffalo Bills one either. The one that was my favorite, though, was the LA Rams. It looks like this blackout look, but they're keeping like the blue and the yellow on the shoulder pads. The Patriots also had a pretty unique one as well. But aside from the uniforms, we had a Darren Muji presser. Now, to be fair, the Jets were like slowly releasing it clip by clip on their Twitter page. It wasn't something that was streamed or anything, so you couldn't really gauge the questions. You couldn't really hear what was being asked, but it's always really cool to hear from the general manager right after the 53-man roster is put together. So just to kind of highlight some of the bullet points that the Jets shared, first and foremost, he talked about Justin Fields, right? He talked about him as a leader, him commanding the offense, him really just being impressive throughout the entire process, talking about him earning the captain role, and also highlighted the sense of rhythm in this week of practice, specifically on offense. Nice balance between passing the ball and running the ball. So it's good to hear, of course, that Justin is excelling. I mean, of course, Darren Muji's not going to come out and say that he's struggling or anything like that, obviously, but really cool to hear that from an organizational viewpoint. It just seems like they're fully backing Fields for this season. And there has been a ton of Bears fans that have reached out, right? Shout out to all the Bears fans that have, shared their thoughts on this channel about Justin Fields. It has been nothing but positive, nothing but support. And I think that's really rare whenever you see like a quarterback that's a first round pick, relatively high pick, and they don't work out. Normally you kind of see like the fans have different opinions on it. And it just doesn't really seem like that's the case with Justin. Of course, not lumping every Bears fan in one, stance here, obviously. And they did walk away with the number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams. But it just feels like there's a lot of support from Chicago fans. And it just doesn't feel like a coincidence that Justin is a hardworking, likable guy who's just going to put his head down and work. No one's really expecting Justin Fields to be a top 5, top 10 quarterback this season. But I think what a lot of people are hoping for is a complete change from last season, right? Someone who's going to take accountability, someone who's going to uplift others, someone who's going to have a blue-collar approach, a physical approach, and really is just going to lay his body on the line to win games, win for his guys, win for his coaches. Muji also talked about the wide receiver room, saying that he feels good about the position, feels good about the room as a whole. Obviously, Garrett's going to do his thing as wide receiver 1, but he talked about Josh Reynolds, Tyler Johnson, both of those guys, Alan Lazard, having like successful moments, having some positives throughout the course of their career. And Arian Smith has been someone who they both were actually talking about how he's growing literally every day. He's getting better and better and better and better, which is just awesome. Now, of course, we have to see it on the field. The Jets just simply have not had much luck drafting wide receivers in those mid rounds. Yes, of course, we do have to credit Joe Douglas for drafting Garrett Wilson, but, objectively speaking, he was a top 10 pick, wide receiver 1 on many, many people's boards. It's really those mid rounds, the Malachi Corleys, the Denzel Mims, the Elijah Moores of the world. And even going back to Mike McCagnon, John Idzik, you just never really felt like we were getting, Jeremy Curley's the one that stands out as far as like a mid round selection that actually came in and was a decent functioning part of the offense. There's been a lot of misses throughout the years. So if Arian Smith can come in and be that consistent deep threat, I think is a massive, massive win. The cool thing, the feather in the cap of Arian Smith, he's walking into the building because when he was drafted, there was a lot of outrage. He's overdrafted. He didn't have like all this crazy production. He had a drop problem and everything. Like there was a lot of backlash for that draft selection. But again, the 2 strengths, the 2 points, the feather in the cap of Arian Smith here, he's walking into the building on day 1 and is instantly the fastest player on the offense and the best deep threat on the offense. I love Garrett, but I don't know if he's a consistent deep threat. I don't know if he's that guy that you want, flying down the field every single week, multiple times a game, trying to, rip the safeties off the top of the defense. What I'm viewing Garrett, I look at a guy who's just an elite route runner, someone who I want to get the football, a space creator. So if Arian Smith, again, can provide that deep role, giving the offense speed, giving the offense just a threat to attack down the field, it's just something that the Jets just simply have not had in years, right? Just someone who can really stretch the field with speed, someone where safeties are like, hold on a second, this guy can fly. Maybe we have to play on our heels a little bit. So really cool to hear that Arian Smith is growing, and I'm excited to see what he can do, right? Early in the season, week 1, no one has any tape on Arian Smith. It should be exciting, man. I seriously cannot wait. In regards to the tight end room, there was a snippet posted by the Jets regarding Jelani Woods. They talked about him as a blocker and also like as a like he's going to be a productive pass catcher. Now, it's really hard to realistically project what Jelani Woods is going to do this season. Obviously, he spent the entirety of his career with one team in the Colts, and he's missed the last 2 seasons combined with injury, lower body stuff, turf toe, hamstring. So you really have to go back to 2022 to see how he impacted the game, how the Colts got him involved. And he was impressive, right? 6'7" size, 4.6 speed. That for a tight end is very, very, like it's eye-opening. Like if you're Tanner Inkstrand, this is someone who can instantly be a red zone threat. This is someone who can be a matchup nightmare. This is someone who, you can have him chip a blocker and then roll outside, work seam routes. Like there's a lot of stuff that you can do. Like the theory, the thought with Jelani Woods, the upside is definitely there. Of course, the question is, can he stay healthy? But, Woods and Mason Taylor in the formation at the same time, like that all of a sudden, like especially if Jelani Woods can get better at blocking. The Jets did say that he can be an effective blocker. From what we've seen from Woods as a blocker, it's not really been anything to write home about. Average to a little bit above average, but he definitely has potential in that, in that role. So could the Jets have found a steal here? There was a lot of speculation that the Jets, or really any team that needed a tight end, was going to have interest here in Jelani Woods because of the intrigue upside. And of course, with Tyler Warren being the first-round selection for the Colts, it just kind of felt like it was time to move on from Indy's, standpoint. So hopefully we have this cool 1-2 punch with Mason Taylor, Jelani Woods, and we'll also see what Stone Smart can do as well. That could be someone who you can line up in sneaky situations, like maybe obvious run situations on bootlegs, get the ball to Stone Smart and watch him. I also feel like Stone Smart, you can throw screens to. Like his acceleration, I feel like is kind of underrated. That's something that we saw in the preseason. He can get upfield quickly. So, could there be situations where you throw tight end screens to Stone Smart? Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. By the way, what's your favorite uniform that was released today? Again, I'm kind of that classic guy, Green Bay, Raiders, but these have a lot going on. But I got to be honest, for the Jets ones, I'm a fan. So anyway, thanks so much, and as always, go Jets.